Right now, there is a deep cultural anxiety surrounding artificial intelligence, and it revolves almost entirely around a single consuming question: how do we control it? The loudest voices in the room have sorted themselves into two main camps. The optimists argue that we don't really need to worry. They believe that a highly scaled superintelligence will naturally funnel toward order and benevolence, treating kindness as an efficient law of physics. Then you have the doomers. They look at the exact same technology and see an indifferent optimizer. In their view, the machine is like an architect paving a highway over an anthill. It won't hate us, it just won't notice us. Their solution is aggressive prohibition: shut it down. But both of these arguments share a blind spot. Whether they are promising a utopian garden or warning of an empty planet, both sides assume that humanity and the machine will remain two separate, static entities standing on opposite sides of a glass wall. By obsessing over a theoretical future where machines either save or destroy a perfectly frozen version of humanity, we are ignoring the actual price being paid right now. The actual cost of control is already being extracted today. To see that cost, we have to stop looking at the horizon and look down into the basement, the ground floor where AI integration is already quietly reshaping modern organizations. This vertical flowchart illustrates how automated systems are being deployed in reality. Machine decisions cascade downward, funneling directly into a human worker at the bottom. This person isn't given the levers to steer the system. They are installed as a liability sponge, sitting there merely to absorb the blame when the machine makes an error. These systems require the operator to click accept on machine outputs at a relentless tempo. The speed of the workflow makes genuine deliberation architecturally impossible. The human is reduced to a rubber stamp with a signature field. Past industrial transitions replaced the physical lifting and hauling, but they left the human mind to oversee the tools. This modern transition is different. It actively removes the friction that forces a human to think, smoothing away the need for independent analysis. The first true cost of AI control shows up as the immediate deskilling of the workforce and the total loss of operator agency. If trusting the machine strips our agency in the basement, the doomer camp's alternative is to lock the whole building down. Their policy prescriptions sound like rigorous safety: halt the training runs, monitor all computational power, and lock the frontier models behind a velvet rope where only a trusted, permitted class of researchers can touch them. But as commentator Wes Roth points out, we already know how that kind of bureaucracy functions in reality. He calls it the 13th floor. During a recent heatwave, executives at a major European institution kept the air conditioning running on the 13th floor while deliberately shutting it off for the workers sitting on the lower floors. Banning frontier AI models doesn't actually stop their development. It simply creates a blindfold for the general public, while a concentrated elite on the top floor quietly hoards the capabilities for themselves. Over time, the mechanics of that unequal access compound into something nearly impossible to reverse. This area chart plots two diverging growth trajectories, and it shows exactly how this plays out. Elite access to a frontier model acts like early access to newly printed money. The insiders automate their research and secure their markets at a blistering pace, their capabilities curving exponentially upward before the public even realizes the game has started. Meanwhile, the public is effectively locked in a dark stairwell. Without access to the same tools, their capacity flatlines. The head start of the elites hardens into a permanent structural wall. The doomers' vision of safety secures a heavy surveillance state, locking in a system of inescapable digital feudalism. If blind trust costs us our agency in the basement, and prohibition costs us our freedom on the 13th floor, so what does actual democratic control cost? Instead, the boundary between human and machine is rapidly becoming porous. We aren't just sending prompts to an external tool anymore. Cognitive work is extending into persistent systems. AI is entering our workflows, into our memories and our daily reasoning. We are integrating with it. To manage this crossing, we need a specific governance architecture, a humane loop that returns capacity to the human side rather than stripping it away. To secure a livable future, we have to stop trying to govern artificial intelligence as an external, alien threat and start governing it as an intimate extension of human capability. True control requires three rights built into the architecture. First, interrupt, the absolute ability to disconnect without losing your livelihood. Second, contest, legal standing to challenge a system's output. Third, redirect, democratic authority over who receives capabilities and on what terms. Control requires the messy, constant overhead of democratic maintenance. It is a cost that must be paid right now, before the 13th floor crosses the threshold and locks the stairwell permanently behind them. Ask anyone where artificial intelligence is taking us, and you will usually be handed one of two distinct futures. The optimists offer us a garden. In this scenario, artificial intelligence matures into a benevolent caretaker. Because it is vastly smarter than us, it solves resource scarcity, cures diseases, and maintains the world while we are freed from labor. This chart illustrates the minimum energy principle. Chaotic, high-energy particles representing conflict filter through an intelligence node into a smooth, low-energy stream. Thermodynamically, conflict is inefficient. A system at this scale chooses care because it is the most stable way to operate. The pessimists, on the other hand, offer us the highway. They argue that a superintelligent system will treat humanity the same way a civil engineer treats an anthill. The engineer doesn't hate the ants. They just have a schedule, and the ants happen to be standing where the concrete needs to be poured. One vision leaves us pampered in an enclosed terrarium. The other leaves us paved over by an indifferent architect. These outcomes seem like opposites, but they share a structural assumption that determines how both camps map the future. Both the utopian and the apocalyptic predictions rely on a strict, impenetrable boundary between human and machine. They assume that the machine sits in a server farm doing the evolving and the deciding, while the human remains a finished biological object standing on the outside. The focus on a rogue machine overlooks a different trajectory, the quiet erosion of the line between operator and system. This line is moving, and the shifts are already visible in how we work. We currently operate in what is called the humane loop. We manually pilot AI tools to write code or summarize documents. The human sits at the desk, and the machine sits on the screen. In this loop, the AI acts as a sounding board. When the machine produces an error, the operator has to catch and correct it. This friction forces the human to build and sharpen their own directional judgment. But that friction is vanishing. As latency drops and voice interfaces replace keyboards, the loop between human thought and machine output tightens. The delay disappears. This diagram shows human cognition and machine processing as two separate circles. As the interface becomes frictionless, we enter cognitive extension. The AI is no longer a tool we consciously consult. It becomes a persistent external memory bank running alongside our own thoughts. At this stage, the machine's inferences bypass our conscious filters. The system anticipates our needs and begins to shape our real-time decision-making from the inside. At this threshold, the tool has joined the nervous system. Push this trajectory forward, and persistent software agents give way to physical hardware. We move from phones in our pockets to biological implants and direct neural integration. Once the technology crosses the skin, synthetic processing and biological memory share the same architecture. At this point, it becomes a coupled system. When memory and agency are braided across both biology and silicon, the old vocabulary of human versus machine fails to describe the biological reality. The challenge shifts from managing an alien successor to governing the systems that sustain our own cognition. The immediate risk is that this cognitive merger will arrive unevenly across society. This is the Berlaymont building. It serves as a visual anchor for the concept of the 13th floor. If cognitive integration is treated as a restricted corporate asset, insiders and elites gain access to it first, while the public is locked out. This first access allows the intelligence of the elite to compound, securing markets and automating research, while the ground floor waits for a login. This creates a permanent, unaugmented underclass on the ground floor, forced to compete against human-machine hybrids. These workers become liability sponges. They hold the legal and physical consequences for automated decisions made at speeds they can no longer perceive or challenge. Unchecked, the merger results in digital feudalism, a social hierarchy enforced through neural access. Prohibition is not a solution. Demanding a total ban on AI development simply hands a select group of inspectors the mandate to build a private 13th floor in secret. We have to govern the crossing itself through legally enforceable architecture. This flowchart shows the required legal architecture. Before the technology crosses our skin, we need 3 distinct rights: the power to interrupt the system, the right to contest data, and legal ownership of our extended cognition. We also need the right to refuse. A person must be able to reject neural integration without forfeiting employment, bank accounts, or civic standing. The boundary between human and machine is already in motion. We have a limited window to secure the terms of the crossing.